Hello, hello, Josie here. Are you ready for the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and are you sure? Okay, here we go. A continuation of some truths. Back in junior high, I there's a situation where I was sent some negative energy as well as some telepathic communication that I should take myself out. Yeah, I know. Now, whether this was done by my parents or whether this was done by certain children at the school, at junior high, I don't know. But I ended up going to a facility, right? And no big concerns. I recovered. But one of the things was my mother did not want me to go on any kind of medication. See, my mother knew that it wasn't necessary, but the reason why she didn't want me to go on medication was because she felt that she could use that in the future for when they were prepared. I don't think you get it. My parents took out an insurance policy on me after I went off to college, actually shortly before I went to college, because they were expecting me to either take myself out or take myself down in some way, shape, or form. And they decided to enlist certain individuals to aid in doing so. But the ultimate, when I transitioned, my parents worked with employees of mine at my career for them to set up chaos and disorder and projection magic on me to basically drive me to need to leave, as if I was having an episode or a panic attack or an anxiety attack. They stirred all of this up intentionally so that I would have to be sent, and or rather I would check myself into a psychiatric hospital for observation overnight. They did this for a few reasons. Reason number one, if they can have legal guardianship over me and or control over any kind of inheritance that may be coming to me from grandmother or great aunt or anybody that they've gotten an insurance policy on, that they left anything to me, my parents would have control over it. Two, it would make other people think and believe that I had another episode like I had in junior high. So people would think that there was something wrong with me, that I'd lost my mind, that I'd gone crazy, and they had proof. There was several different agents in the psychiatric hospital that were also helping my parents to trap me up, basically. Mike, my partner, my spouse, deceased now, he was the one that suggested that I check into a psychiatric hospital. It's almost as if he was a part of it as well too, that he would get some piece of the pie or some of the money, right? So he's the one who suggested it. And I remember when we were in the area where I was going to be going back to the room before I was going to go back to the facility, I didn't want to go. I was crying. I was upset. I didn't want to go. I knew that something had happened. The parties that were employees of mine that they had done something, that they had worked something out. And here's how I know this. My mother slipped, and she told me that, just bluntly, she didn't say it bluntly, but just putting it bluntly, that she worked with someone that was an employee of mine to do things against me. She slipped and she said something about the person, like, oh, I didn't like working with them. They were difficult to work with. And when she said difficult, I knew what she meant. This person wanted things. She wanted money. She wanted to have a career somewhere. She wanted to do something, whatever. Basically, she paid these people to attack me and come at me while I was on the job because they have close access to me in the facility. So that's why she was paying them to attack me and set me up and so on and so forth. I go back to the psychiatric hospital. Mike, he sat there, and it's almost like he flipped the switch. And I saw his eyes change. I saw his energy shift a little bit. And he basically, it's okay. You're just going to be here for one night. It's just to get observed, so on and so forth. And I'll be here to pick you up in the morning. Well, like I said, it was an overnight thing. And it was done intentionally. I had submitted a dissertation to the company, and it had a blueprint of how they could improve the health of the company and increase sales as well as increase customers and whatnot. It was a blueprint 1.0. And it gave them a nice layout. And the CEO at the time, who had a connection to my godmother, because they're both in finance, and there's an organization for finance individuals in the Texas area. And Mike even slipped up and said, well, your godmother knows this person. And I'm kind of like, well, how do you know that she knows this person? You never met my godmother, and you never met this other person either. It's because he knew about the organization. And if they worked in finance, they would more than likely be in the same organization, plus whatever other information he's found out. Because I believe he was working with my parents, like I said. So, any inheritance that was left to me, my parents have control of it, and they don't want to let it go. Any insurance policy that they have on me, they got it for me because they thought I was going to take myself out. And even up until, up until now, they've thought I was going to take myself out because I was terminated from my job. I lost Mike, a whole bunch of letdowns, a whole bunch of grief, and a whole bunch of setbacks and whatnot. And they thought it was going to take me into a depression to where I would take myself out and they would collect on the insurance. Yeah. So they pimped me out. They used people that had access to me, paid them to come at me and attack me. They tried to get me set up as far as going to a psychiatric hospital so that way they can get control over anything that may have been released to me or coming to me from any kind of inheritance from deceased relatives or any kind of items or homes or anything like that. They wanted to hang on to it. They didn't want me to have access to it because that would have changed my life. They wanted to keep me in a certain state and in a certain place so that they could have control and keep control over me. And how do I know this? One, I put really two and two together. Things that they've said over the years, things that they've done. I remember a document that they wanted me to sign. More than likely, they may have used that document that I signed to get my signature so that way they could transfer that to any other document. I put two and two together. And also using my neighbors, coming into my neighborhood, putting out different thoughts and ideas about me, lies about me to other individuals so that they will see me in a different light, in a negative light, and then they could use them to attack me and come at me, not necessarily having to pay them, but some of them I'm sure they did. Yeah, it's pretty extreme, isn't it? And this started all out in junior high. So they had been instilling that in me since junior high, that I was not worthy, or I was not valuable, or I was not important. They put all those doubts in my head so that would drive me to want to take myself out. That didn't work, but that set up a precedent for them to then go in the future and try it again, and or to have a reason or an excuse as to what happened to me. Oh, this happened. So if they wanted to fake my death, if they wanted to fake that I was dead, they could say, oh, this person's dead, they died from this, yada, yada, yada. They had this problem and this problem. They had a drug problem, or they had an alcohol problem. They were sexually promiscuous, so on and so forth, all different types of stuff. Any kind of scenario that they wanted to use to get people to turn against me, as well as to claim whatever was supposed to be for me, and or to gain off of my death, they did. Every avenue covered. Every single avenue covered. These were my parents. This was even my family, them incorporating relatives, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins, so on and so forth. Anybody. So look how far God has brought me and how God has protected me. I'm a witness. I'm a testimony. Gotta go. Bye.